Therein walk only demons and mad things that are no longer men, and the streets are white with unburied bones of those who have looked upon Eidolon Lathi that reigns over the city. So the white ship sailed on past the walls of Dalarion and followed for many days a southward flying bird whose glossy plumage matched the sky out of which it had appeared. Then came we to a pleasant coast gay with blossoms of every hue, where, as far inland as we could see, basked lovely groves and radiant arbors beneath a meridian sun. From bowers beyond our view came bursts of song and snatches of lyric harmony, interspersed with faint laughter, so delicious that I urged the rowers onward in my eagerness to reach the scene. And the bearded man spoke no word, but watched me as we approached the lily-lined shore. Suddenly a wind blowing from over the flowery meadows and leafy woods brought a scent at which I trembled. The wind grew stronger, and the air was filled with the lethal, charnel odor of a plague-stricken town. Plague-stricken towns and uncovered cemeteries. And as we sailed madly away from that damnable coast, the bearded man spoke at last, saying, "This is Tsura, the land of pleasures unattainable." So once more, kind of like what people said about California, because Fornia meant sex acts outside of marriage, and California was a mythical place, and that's where the name came from. So, once more the white ship followed the bird of heaven over the warm, blessed seas, fanned by caressing, aromatic breezes. Day after day and night after night did we sail, and when the moon was full, we would listen to soft songs of the oarsmen, sweet as on that distant night when we sailed away from my far native land, and it was by moonlight that we anchored at last in the harbor of Sana Niel, which was guarded by twin headlands of crystal that rise from the sea and meet in a resplendent arch. This is the land of fancy, and we walked to the verdant shore upon a golden bridge of moonbeams. In the land of Sana Niel there is neither time nor space, neither suffering nor death, and there I dwelt for many aeons. Green are the groves and pastures, bright and fragrant the flowers, blue and musical the stems, clear and cool the fountains, and stately and gorgeous the temples and castles, the cities of Sana Niel. Of all that land there is no bound, for beyond each vista of beauty rises another more beautiful. Over the countryside and amidst the splendor of cities can move at will the happy folk, of whom all are gifted with unmarred grace and unalloyed happiness. For the aeons that I dwelt there, I wandered blissfully through gardens where quaint pagodas peep from pleasing clumps of bushes, and where the white walks are bordered with delicate blossoms. I climbed gentle hills, from whose summits I could see entrancing panoramas of loveliness, with steepled towns nestling in verdant valleys, and with the golden domes of gigantic cities glittering on the infinitely distant horizon. And I viewed by moonlight the sparkling sea, the crystal headlands, and the placid harbor wherein lay anchored the white ship. It was against the full moon one night in the immemorial year of Tharp that I saw outlined the beckoning form of the celestial bird and felt the first stirrings of unrest. Then I spoke with the bearded man and told him of my new yearnings to depart for remote Cathuria, which no man hath seen, but which all believe to lie beyond the basalt pillars of the west. It is the land of hope, and in it shine the perfect ideals of all that we know elsewhere, or at least so men relate. But the bearded man said to me, beware of these perilous seas, wherein men say, Cathuria lies. In Sana Niel there is no pain or death, but who can tell what lies beyond the basalt pillars of the west? Nathless, at the full moon, I boarded the white ship, and with the reluctant, bearded man left the happy harbor for untraveled seas. Now, Atlantis was confused to be something, off the coast of Africa rather than, in Africa itself. And Lemuria and Mu are thought to be Pacific Ocean lost continents too. So we're seeing elements of some of these myths in this story. And the bird of heaven flew before and led us toward the basalt pillars of the west. But this time the oarsmen sang no soft songs under the full moon. In my mind I would often picture the unknown land of Cathuria with its splendid groves and palaces, and would wonder what new delights there awaited me. Cathuria, I would say to myself, is the abode of gods and the land of unnumbered cities of gold. Its forests are of aloe and sandalwood, even as the fragrant groves of Comorin. And among the trees flutter gay birds, sweet with song. On the green and flowery mountains of Cathuria stand temples of pink marble, rich with carven and painted glories, and having in their courtyards cool fountains of silver, where purr with ravishing music the scented waters that come from the grotto-born river Narg. And the cities of Cathuria are tinctured with golden walls, and their pavements also are of gold. In the gardens of these cities are strange orchids and perfumed lakes, whose beds are of coral and amber. At night, the streets and the gardens are lit with gay lanthorns, fashioned from the three-colored shell of the tortoise. And here resound the soft notes of the singer and the lutenist. And the houses of the cities of Cathuria are all palaces, each built over a fragrant canal, bearing the waters of the sacred Narg. Of marble and porphyry are the houses, and roofed with glittering gold that reflects the rays of the sun, and enhances the splendor of the cities as blissful entities view them from the distant peaks. Fairest of all is the palace of the great monarch Dorieb, whom some say to be a demigod, and others a god. High is the palace of Dorieb, and many are the turrets of marble upon its walls. And its wide halls many multitudes assemble, and there hang the trophies of the ages, and the roof is of pure gold, set upon tall pillars of ruby and azure, and having such carven figures of entities and heroes, that he who looks upon these heights seems to gaze upon the living Olympus. And the floor of the palace is of glass, under which flow the cunningly lighted waters of the Narg, gay with gaudy fish, not known beyond the bounds of lovely Cathuria. Now, Isaiah 14's sardonic reference to Lucifer kind of something we're reminded of here, aren't we? Thus would I speak to myself of Cathuria, but ever would the bearded man warn me to turn back to the happy shores of Sana Niel, for Sana Niel is known of men, while none hath ever beheld Cathuria. And on the 31st day that we followed the bird, we beheld the basalt pillar of the west. Shrouded in the midst they were, so that no man might peer beyond them or see their summits, which indeed some say reach even to the heavens. And the bearded man again implored me to turn back, but I heeded him not. For from the midst beyond the basalt pillars I fancied there came the notes of singers and lutanists, sweeter than the sweetest songs of Sana Niel, and sounding mine own praises of me, who had voyaged far from the full moon, and dwelt in the land of fancy, so did the sound of the melody of the white ship sailed into the mist between the basalt pillars of the west. And when the music ceased and the mist lifted, we beheld not the land of Cathuria, but a swift rushing resistless sea, over which our helpless bark was borne toward some unknown goal. Soon to our ears came the distant thunder of falling waters, and to our eyes appeared in the far horizon ahead the titanic spray of a monstrous cataract, wherein the oceans of the world dropped down to abysmal nothingness. Then did the bearded man say to me, with tears on his cheek, "We have rejected the beautiful land of Sonanil, which we may never behold again. The entities are greater than men, and they have conquered." And I closed my eyes before the crash that I knew would come, shutting out the sight of the celestial bird which flapped its mocking blue wings over the brink of that torrent. Out of the crash came darkness, and I heard the shrieking of men, and of things that were not men. From the east, tempestuous winds arose, and chilled me as I crouched on the slab of damp stone which had arisen beneath my feet. Then, as I heard another crash, I opened my eyes and beheld myself on the platform of that lighthouse whence I had sailed so many eons ago. And the darkness below, there loomed a vast, blurry outlines of a vessel breaking up on the coral rocks, and as I glanced out over the waste, I saw that the light had failed for the first time since my grandfather had assumed its care. And in the lighter watches of the night, when I went within the tower, I saw on the wall a calendar which still remained as when I had left it at the hour I sailed away. With the dawn, I descended the tower and looked for wreckage upon the rocks, but what I found was only this: a strange dead bird whose hue was as of the azure sky, and a single shattered spar of whiteness greater than that of the wave tips or of the mountain snow. And thereafter the ocean told me its secrets no more, and though many times since, as the moon shone full and high in the heavens, the white ship from the south never came again. Now white, the summer solstice, is the color, that I give to that. Well, that's all colors, so 6 colors and all color, no color, right? But, we can see this as sort of an allegory of the longer months in your Western calendar. But we can say that we fell short of the 32 of the almost, came just a couple steps short of a full development, your 33rd degree and all. But we got to use our experiences. When we have great dreams and great experiences, we got to be grateful for them, and we got to see what we can do about them. Not necessarily we have a dream about doing something that we shouldn't do, or that sort of thing, that we should go off and do it that way. But our peak experiences, we got to make use of them while we can. And sometimes other experiences that weren't so much, we don't have them anymore either.